All right, welcome. Today, we're jumping into the final and maybe most exciting piece of the front-end puzzle. We're talking about the language that gives our websites a pulse, that lets them think and react. We're talking about JavaScript.
So think about where we are. We've used HTML to build a solid skeleton, and we've used CSS to give it some seriously stylish clothes. But that's all it is. It's a mannequin. A beautiful, well-dressed mannequin, but it's totally lifeless. It can't move, it can't respond to you, it can't do anything. So the big question is, how do we actually bring this thing to life?
Right, so this is our starting point. We have the structure, we have the style, but we're missing that all-important spark. It just sits there. And that is where JavaScript comes in. This is the web's brain and its muscles all rolled into one. If HTML is the bones and CSS is the skin and clothes, then JavaScript is everything else. It's the nervous system, the muscles, the brain. It's the real magician that makes the show happen. Now, the most important phrase here is a real programming language. This is a huge step up. See, HTML and CSS aren't programming languages. They just describe what something should look like. JavaScript, on the other hand, does things. It can handle logic, make decisions like if this, then that, repeat actions over and over, and even remember information. It is literally the thinking part of our web page. In this body metaphor, it just works perfectly. Think of JavaScript as the brain, handling all the logic and decision-making. It's also the nervous system, constantly listening for events from the user. Things like clicks, scrolls, or key presses. And, most importantly, it's the muscles. It has the power to actually reach out and change the page's structure, what we call the DOM, in real time. That's how it makes things appear, disappear, or change right before your eyes. Okay, but hold on. This brings up a really interesting question. Your browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, it's a complex piece of software mostly written in languages like C++. So how on earth does it understand the JavaScript code that we write? The secret is something amazing inside every modern browser. The JavaScript engine. You can think of it as the browser's cerebellum, that fast, unconscious part of the brain that handles things automatically. Its one and only job is to take our human-readable JavaScript code and pretty much instantly translate it into super fast, low-level machine code that the computer's actual processor can execute. The sheer speed of these engines is the reason we can have incredibly complex web apps and even 3D games running smoothly right inside a browser tab. It's kind of mind-blowing. And you've been using these engines this whole time without even knowing it. Google's V8 engine is the absolute powerhouse behind Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and more. Over in Firefox, you've got Mozilla's SpiderMonkey. And if you're on a Mac or iPhone, Apple's Safari is powered by JavaScript Core. It's actually this fierce competition between these tech giants, each trying to make their engine faster than the others, that has driven the web to become as powerful as it is today. Okay, so we get the what and the how. We know what JavaScript is, and we know how the browser runs it. But what about the practical side? How do we actually connect this new brain to our HTML body? Well, you've basically got two options. The first is the inline method. Honestly, this is like scribbling electrical notes directly onto your final architectural blueprints. It might work for a quick, tiny test, but it's messy, it's disorganized, and it's a nightmare to manage later. Then there's the professional method, using an external file. This is the way to go. It's like having a separate, clean, perfectly organized technical manual just for the building systems. It's clean, it's reusable, and it's the industry standard for a reason. So let's just focus on the right way to do it. First, you create a totally separate file, usually called script.js or something similar. Then you link to it from your HTML using a special script tag. But here's the crucial part, the step everyone gets wrong at first. You have to place that link just before the closing body tag at the very end of your HTML file. Why? Simple. You want the browser to build the entire HTML skeleton first. That way, when your JavaScript muscles show up and try to grab or move an element, that element actually exists. Skeleton first, then add the muscles. Awesome. Our brain is officially connected to the body.
So let's dive in and explore how it has its first simple thoughts and, just as importantly, how it communicates those thoughts back to us, the developers. So, to do anything useful at all, our new brain needs a memory. It needs to remember things. And it does this using something called a variable. The best way to think of it is just a labeled box. We give the box a name, like username or score, and we put some information inside it. Later, whenever our code needs that info, it just looks for the box with that label. It's that simple, and it's absolutely fundamental to all programming. So how does our code talk to us? Well, there's the rude, obnoxious way, alert. This is like the brain hijacking the entire body just to shout a message at the user in a pop-up box. It freezes everything, it's super annoying, you almost never see it in real projects. Then there's the smart way, console.log. This is like the brain thinking to itself or jotting down notes in a private journal. It's completely invisible to the user, but for us, the developers, it's the most vital tool we have.
And listen, that is not an exaggeration. Console.log is our window into the code's mind. We're like brain psychologists, and the console is our tool for seeing exactly what our code is thinking at any given moment. What value is in that variable? Did that function actually run? You use console.log to find out. It is, without a doubt, your #1 tool for figuring out why your code is or isn't working.
So let's step back and look at what we've built. We've come a really long way from that static, lifeless mannequin. We're on the verge of seeing some real magic.
So to recap this whole journey, we've given our webpage a brain for logic, we've given it a nervous system to listen for events, and we've given it muscles to make changes. We know it all runs on a powerful engine inside the browser, we know how to connect it properly, and we have our first tools, variables, and the console, to give it a memory and listen to its thoughts. We've basically learned the fundamental spells.
Which brings us to the final, most exciting question. Now that our mannequin has a brain and is ready to flex its muscles, what can it actually do? What's the payoff? How do we make a button that, when you click it, actually changes the text on the page? Well, that's the real magic, and it's exactly where we're going next. Stay curious.